Hello. So it's release month for Not the Fighting Kind, my adult pirate fantasy novel set in a world that looks an awful lot like ours if you squint at the names. So the the way that the world is put together, in case you are interested, is that I was originally going to make it an actual like alternate historical novel, but I've gone a little too far away from alternate history, so it's more landed in the pseudo-historical category, which is not a real category, but I really wish it was. So pseudo-historical is where you take a lot of historical stuff and then you also go, but what if I messed with it? So it's not really historical, but there's a lot of like allusions to historical stuff. And so like all of the place names in it are, well, the vast majority of the place names in it are named after places that are important to my family. So like close family. And I've based the vast majority of the hierarchical systems of like high society on actual historical English systems, just with the inclusion of non-binary people. And today I'm going to introduce you to the cast. That's what this is. So I've made myself a little set of notes because I still can't edit videos right now because I'm having the worst tech year ever. So we'll start with our main character. Sometimes I do this the opposite way, but this time I'm starting with the main character because I have a really juicy character that I really want to put at the end to be like mysterious and annoying with. So Nat, our main character, they obviously are the main character. They're the person on the blurb of the book. They're also, well, actually no, that's just a pirate hat, but technically that's me. But anyway, Nat is a high society liege. They are from Enderend, which is England. Thank you, Porthos. Your input is very valuable. And they were banished to sea by their father for having an almost scandal with a character called Rajni. So Rajni is another high society person. She's a high society lady, and she doesn't actually show up in the book, but we do reference her quite a lot because she is the reason that Nat got sent to sea. Well, Nat's choices with her are the reason they got sent to sea. And Nat is non-binary and puts the bi in non-binary because they have this almost scandal with Rajni, who's a woman, and then their potential love interest for the novel. Well, they have two, but they pick one because it's a monogamous novel, and it's their love interests are boys. Their pirate love interests are men. That's what I'm trying to say. They're pirate love interests. They have pirate love interests and they are men. This is getting chaotic. We're moving on. The next character I want to introduce you to is the first pirate we meet, and we meet him in chapter 1, which, by the way, you can read on my website completely free right now if you want to. His name is Alexei, and he is the quartermaster of the pirate ship. He is Covian, which is not a place that I named after any real places, and he is loyal to a fault, literally. That is his biggest flaw. He is really, really loyal. And the problem is that depending on who he's being loyal to, he might do some really bad shit. And by might, I mean does. So the next people on my list are our naval trio, which you also meet in the first chapter. I will list them in order of who stays on the ship the longest. So the longest resident of the pirate ship is Lord Tommen Felitabi. He is the same societal level as Nat because Nat is a liege and Tommen is a lord. He is an asshole and he's really proud to be in the Navy. He has a proud, long family history of naval membership. That's not the word. But like, he's a long family history with the Navy. But Nat is confused as to why exactly the heir to the family is in the Navy, because you can't generally risk the eldest son like that. Like, he could die in a naval battle or by the hands of pirates. And then they wouldn't have anyone to head up the family, and then what's going to happen to like the estate, and what's going to happen to the, you know, all of the drama in Pride and Prejudice about like, what if Mr. Bennet dies, then what? And like the whole thing in like Sense and Sensibility, where they get shunted off to like a cottage in the middle of nowhere because it's the only place they can afford, and their landlord slash neighbour, I'm not really sure, has to take a lot of pity on them, inviting them to places and stuff, and they can't really afford to go because, hey, guess what, they can't afford clothes. Conceptually, that's what Nat's worried about for his family, is that if he dies, who's going to prevent that from happening to his family? But there we go. Then we have Viscount Niall Archin. He is the son of a count, so he's a higher social class than both Nat and Tommen, and he's the fifth son in his family, which Nat decrees in the book means he either had to be a rake or make a name for himself in the military to distinguish himself in any kind of way. Because he is essentially the Lydia Bennet, as it were, if we're going to keep using this Pride and Prejudice analogy. He is so far down the list that nobody really gives a shit about him. The eldest is the heir, the second is the spare, the third is usually the one that goes into the military to create like reputation, the fourth is usually a rake, and then the fifth can do basically whatever he wants, but he also has no money and no real power. Then we have our third and final naval boy, Mr. Jim Orthorn. Mr. Jim Orthorn spends the vast majority of his time really badly injured. He is a gentleman, much like most of the characters in Austen novels, like Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bennet and Mr. Bingley are all of the same social class, and that is where Mr. Orthorn sits also. Then we move on to the pirates. We're going to start with our Endrish pirate. Jay is a working class person. C was just a working class person in Enderund. Got a job on a ship as a cook's hand. That ship got captured by pirates, and if you want to hear more about that, you should sign up to my mailing list and email me. I'll respond to the welcome email saying, hey, I really want to read Jay's backstory. Or keep an ear out about something to do with an omnibus that might be coming at some point. But I'm not going to say much more about that just yet, because that has Jay's backstory. Anyway, Jay is one of Nat's designated like guards aboard the pirate ship, because I didn't want them to sit in the cell the whole time. Because the pirate captain wants these naval kids to work for their ransoms. Because I don't want them to sit in cells the whole time. But Jay and Nat butt heads about being, like Nat being quite posh and Jay being quite, well, not. It's mostly Jay's problem, honestly. Like Jay's the one having a problem, and Nat is just the subject of that problem. But it's a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of fun. I love Jay, as proven by the fact that Jay has a backstory. Then on the next person on my list, as I flick the page, the next person is Kajal. Kajal is a they them, and they are the rigger, and they have a lot of fun teasing people about being bad at climbing the rigging, because that's their whole job and they're really, really good at it. I don't know if you've ever tried to climb like those net ladders, as it were. Like I used to do it all the time in like kids' play areas and stuff when I was a child, just to be clear. When I was a child and allowed in those places, that was one of my favourite things to do, but it is really difficult because you've got to have like a lot of core strength to be able to like hold yourself to it. And then if you try and do it like out in the wind or when it's like shaking, it gets much, much harder. And yeah, Kajal likes to tease people about the fact that they can't do it, and Kajal can. But is also there immediately with the safety line every single time. Like, hey, maybe just in case you fall, maybe you should not die. Then we have Bear, or the Bear Man. So he's described as the Bear Man for quite a long time until we get our first conversation with him, where you find out that actually he can't talk anymore because of an injury that happened. He's very intimidating to look at. He's a big guy. He's quite like, he looms over people. He's very frowny faced. He's well aged is how I'm going to phrase it. And yeah, he can't talk anymore because of this damage that happened to him, this injury, which if you'd like to hear more about, you should sign up to my mailing list because that story is coming also. And he is one of my favourite characters. I swear, I just love these guys. All of these pirates, I just love them so much. But there is this moment where Nat finds out that Bear is unable to speak. And they have this vague understanding, not vague, they have an understanding of sign because they used to have a friend of a friend who was deaf and therefore learned sign for this friend of a friend in high society. Because I can do what I want because it's not actually a historical novel. And so they're like, hey, do you sign? And suddenly Bear can communicate because, hey, guess what? You can communicate through sign language. And it's this really nice bonding moment for Nat and this guy that used to be really scary because he never said anything and he just frowns at people all the time. And suddenly he's smiling and laughing and making jokes because, hey, guess what? Communication's important, guys. And yeah, it's just this really nice thing. And then I realized while I was doing like my promotional preparations, so like planning out what was going to be posted when on social media and like when I was going to introduce my characters via like reels and stuff, that both of Bear's, because he gets a reintroduction one for the second book, but both of Bear's ones ended up on autism awareness days. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. I said to my wife, isn't it so weird that this has happened? She's like, you have clearly done that on purpose. And I was like, what do you mean I have clearly done it on purpose? And she said, you've clearly done that on purpose because you know Bear is autistic. And I was like, is he? And she said, yeah, he's got all the hallmarks, according to my understanding, based on the fact that all of my friends are autistic. And I was like, oh, cool. So apparently he's autistic, according to my wife, and I trust her because she has much more sense than I do. So yeah, pretty sure Bear's autistic. I went back through after she told me that and reread it because I had to proofread it anyway. But I went back through and reread it after that, and I was like, oh yeah, he's autistic, isn't he? So yeah, if you're looking for autism rep, you get Bear, who is, as I said, just to be super duper clear, before he had the injury, he could speak. He wasn't a non-verbal person. But I also reread his backstory and I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, he's autistic, isn't he? Because he's got this big thing about like people setting rules and then not following their own rules, and how he doesn't like it when people do that. And like that's one of the hallmarks. All of my autistic friends, mine and my wife's autistic friends, have that exact like thing where they're like, it's okay if there are no rules. It's okay if nobody follows the rules. But if somebody says this is the rule and then they don't follow that rule that they've just told you about, that's bullshit. And I think that's a very sensible stance to take. I think they're right about it. And so does Bear. So that's not his only autistic trait. That's just the one that comes to mind immediately now. And like I said, I can't edit these videos, so I can't like go and look and try and find better examples. But yeah, he's autistic. Then we have the captain. The captain is scarier than Bear, and she is super sadistic. And I love her, but she's awful. Or rather, I love her and she's awful. She's an awful person. She's real awful and nobody likes her. Except for me, because I wrote her and I think she's wonderfully awful. Revel in the absolute cruelty of this pirate captain. Please do. And finally, last on the list is the Pirate Lord. Now I can't tell you too much about the Pirate Lord because that would be big, gigantic spoilers. But I can tell you about Pirate Lords as a concept, which I think could be valuable and fun. So let's do that. When it comes to... Hi, Bela. Hi, Bela. Aw, you've come to say hi. When it comes to the Pirate Lords, or the pirate world in Not That Kind of Dandy, it is very sparsely described, but this should be clear. According to everyone who's read it, it is clear. So, but basically you have what we call coded pirates and uncoded pirates. Now, coded pirates, which is what the pirate ship that Nat gets captured onto is, swear their allegiance to the pirate queen, and in return they get things like better deals at pirate ports and other stuff. So they have to swear their allegiance to the pirate queen and live by the pirate code. And part of the pirate code includes these better deals at pirate ports. Pirate ports are run by pirate lords. Pirate lords swear their loyalty to the pirate queen and are sort of like her, essentially, lieutenants. And the pirate lord that we meet in Not the Fighting Kind is the pirate lord of Chennai, the Chennai pirate port. And basically what his job is to take care of the people in his port, to take care of the pirates who visit, and to ensure that everybody who visits and is coded is living their life according to the pirate code, is conducting themselves according to the pirate code that they swore to. And this specific pirate lord of Chennai absolutely hates the captain that captures Nat. Hates her with a fiery, burning passion. And not just because one time he had a bit of a thing with Alexei, but also because she's an asshole and nobody likes her. So that's all I'm going to say at this juncture about the characters in Not the Fighting Kind. It is available on Tuesday, as in it comes out on Tuesday, the 23rd of April. I was going to say August then, that's not right. April. This month, April. And if you are watching this after that point, you can get it right now into your very hands or onto your e-reader device or whatever way you like to read your books. You can get signed copies from me. You can get unsigned copies from other places. A lot of the time the links that I have say that they're going to be ebook links, but when you follow them they do go to paperbacks as well. I don't know why it does that. I've been investigating. No one can answer me. I've tried opening the paperback links. There's a paperback link setting in the linker that I use. I've tried opening that about 1,000 times. Just does not appear. No idea why. No one can tell me. No one knows what's wrong with it. So what are you going to do? So please just do follow the links or ask at your local shops and make a request for it. I share the ISBNs for my book, usually on my website somewhere. I will try and make sure that it's definitely there so that you can ask for it. And if you're looking for if you've read this and that's what brought you here and you're thinking, gosh, I really liked this, what else can I read by you? Well, if you're looking for something that's about the same length, you can check out Welcome to Humanity, which is a dystopian short novel that is an examination of what it's like to be trans and or disabled and or neurodiverse in the world we live in through the lens of allegories about cyborgs and reanimated people and cybernetic enhancements and stuff. If you are looking for another fantasy novel, you can check out the Guardian Cadet series, which has 2 parts, Mary Ellen Breaking the Curse and Mary Ellen Finding the Heir, which are more traditional fantasy novels. They're set in a fantastical world as well, but specifically intentionally fantastical world. There's goblins and elves and dragonborn and stuff. There's magic, all that jazz. Magic through song, soft cinnamon roll boyfriend. And if you're looking for another thing that's set on a ship where you get to spend a lot of time with the same people in close quarters, you might like Unlicensed Delivery, which is also a sci-fi novel, but it's basically going on a road trip while trying to pass an exam. Essentially it's going on a road trip while trying to pass an exam. And that's what the Space Whale is from. Bloop, 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 bloop. Space Whale is from that. And of course, if you are watching this many moons in the future, maybe there'll be even more books. But right now, as of filming this, these are the 5 I got, and I hope that you will check them out and enjoy them. And if you have already checked them out and enjoyed them, then I'm really glad, and I hope you'll stick around to see whatever comes next. And if you are waiting to get your copy of Not the Fighting Kind, then I hope it is everything you want it to be. I hope you really enjoy it. And if you don't tell me, because this It's my pirate book that I've wanted to write since I was a child. I had pirate wallpaper. I had a pirate ship instead of a treehouse. I wanted to be a pirate. Don't tell me you don't like it. Just leave it alone. No, it's fine. You can go into review spaces and stuff. Like, that's not my space. But don't like come here to my YouTube video and be there like, I didn't like it, because I don't care. My dad did that to me with my first book. He was like, I didn't really like it, but I'm not your target audience. And I'm like, you really didn't have to tell me you didn't like it. You didn't have to tell me you'd read it, to be honest. You could have just left it. It would have been fine. I wouldn't have minded not knowing. But now that is burned into my brain forever. Thanks, Dad. No, it's fine. It's just one of those. It's just one of those things, isn't it? Like, not every book is for every person. Obviously. That's how preferences work. And my dad isn't my target audience because he doesn't read fantasy books. He doesn't read my kind of books. He's more of a like mystery thriller kind of guy. But then so is my mother-in-law. Not guy, but apart from that, she's really into mysteries and thrillers. And she's read every single book I've written and really liked it. So you never know. Give it a shot if you want to. And if you don't want to, no harm, no foul. I hope you enjoyed watching this video anyway. Don't know why you're here, but you're welcome. Anyway, if you want to follow all of the links that you could ever need to follow are in the description box below. I hope you had a great time, and I will see you in a month with whatever video I have coming next, because I've got no idea. Ooh, and if you're interested, because I am all big on sharing fun stuff, let me just cover up the spoilery part. In the back of this, you also get a little short story, which is just one of the scenes in the book from a different perspective. I haven't done that before. That's a new thing. Like, you still get a preview for the next book, but yeah, get one of the scenes from a different perspective because I wanted to, and I thought you guys might like it. So let me know if that is something that you enjoy, because if it is, I will try and do it more often. Because hey, as an indie author, I get to make these kinds of offers. Anyway, I will see you. I will actually go now. With one final mention that this account is not monetized, and if you'd like to support me beyond just buying my books, there is always a link to my Ko-fi account in the description box below, because this channel is run entirely on love, donations, and cat ears, apparently. Beta! Big Kion, are you gonna come and say hello? Come on. Wee-hoo! Kitten! Buy pirate books, she says. Love them, baby. Bye.